All right. All right. We are live from Occupy City Hall in Rockford, Illinois. This is day, you know what day it is? It is day 235. Anybody that's watching this video, please share this video. Got to do one thing, make one mistake. Make one mistake. Give me 1 second. Share this video. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Had to go grab something. So as we've been starting these lives off regularly, I want to start this live off the same way. And I want to start it off with a rest in power to Faustin Guaitigo. If anybody that's watching this video, sharing this video, if you need something to caption it, share this video and caption it. Justice for Faustin. Faustin Guaitigo was murdered April 11th by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. And so we're out here saying justice for Faustin. If anybody else, if somebody needs to share this video, somebody tuning in right now, sharing this video and they need something to caption it, hashtag Justice for Jose. This is Jose Gonzalez Jr., who was shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department on April 11th, 2021. Both of these cases, Jose Gonzalez Jr. and Faustin Guaitigo, are both currently under investigation by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. And so we want to bring as much attention to those investigations as possible. There has never been an investigation by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force in which the officers involved have been found unjustifiable in their use of force or in somebody dying in their custody. And so we need to continue to raise awareness to these issues that are going on in the city. So justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr., justice for Faustin Guaitigo. And then we want to say justice for Denzel Duvant, who was assaulted at the hands of the Rockford Police Department on January 5th, 2021. So if you need something to hashtag when you watch this video, when you share, you need a caption to put, you can put justice for Denzel. And we came out here October 3rd, 2021 because on October 2nd, 2021, Tyrus Jones was shot by the Rockford Police Department while he was running away. And we continue to say justice for Tyrus. We continue to raise awareness to the shooting, to the attempted 21st century lynching of Tyrus Jones in Rockford, Illinois. And so those are the four people that we want to raise awareness and bring awareness to regarding those issues. And again, there are a plethora of more people and families who have been traumatized and victimized by these issues. And we're going to get to a place where at the beginning of all of these lives and all these episodes, at least on my part, I will do what I can to remind people of the names of those who have been the victims of these issues. So I do want to get into what this video specifically is titled. I do want to stay on the topic of this video. As many people know, it is the 1 year anniversary of George Floyd being murdered by Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis. I think a lot of us can remember where we were at the first time we saw the video, or the first time we heard about what happened to George Floyd, or where we were at when the outcry and the outpour started coming out around the city and around the nation of the murder of George Floyd. And I think that one of the things that I want people to do is to imagine these four people who we just spoke of. Each one of them were somewhere when George Floyd was murdered. Each one of their family members was somewhere when George Floyd was murdered. Little did they know that at some point they would be in those same situations. That their family member would deal with the same police terrorism and mass incarceration and racial injustice issues that led to the death of George Floyd. Tyrus Jones' family didn't know when they heard about George Floyd or seen these videos of George Floyd that at some point that they would be the family in these shoes. Denzel Duvant's family didn't know that. Jose Gonzalez Jr.'s family didn't know that. Faustin Guaitigo's family didn't know that. And so one of the things that we have, because it was a video titled Progress by the mayor that came out, where he spoke about the progress that he believes the city has made when it comes to these issues. And I believe that there has been forms of progress that have been made, but they have been made not in coordination with the city or not because of the city, but in indirect opposition of the city. They've been made. This struggle has happened because of the challenge and the adversity that the city has posed to it. And so one of the things that I would say that has been progress, tangible progress, is the connection that these families have and the connection that these loved ones have now. I've seen different family members of these, different families who have loved ones who were victims of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. I've seen them lean on each other and gain strength from each other and gain confidence from each other and gain comfort from each other. I've watched as now when we put up these memorials weekly, when we put up these memorials after they're torn down, the families of all of these different people share the memorials and share the posts and share the pictures, and I think that reminds people of how intertwined we truly are, how interconnected we truly are, and I think that is something that we have gained since the murder of George Floyd, that the connection and the interconnectedness that we as a nation, that we as a city, yes as a nation, but that as we as a city have directly when it comes to this issue. And I don't think that the city of Rockford has done things to ingratiate those relationships. I think they have done things to try to hinder those relationships. Tom McNamara has not made any type of attempt to make connections with the families who have lost loved ones from police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. I think that is important to note that a post just came out from the city speaking about some of the issues that they believe that they have addressed, or some of the things that they think that they have solved. And if you read the post, nowhere in there do you even see the word racism mentioned or racist mentioned. Again, they use social justice. Too often the word social justice gets used, and it's used in a way that does not specifically touch on the manner of the social injustice that it is. And when you don't, and that is the truth of the moral issue when it in Rockford, Illinois. The truth of it is that in this city, Rockford does not want to accept the fact that it is racist. And until it accepts the fact that it is racist, and it has been racist since its inception, and it continues to be racist in its actions, and it has that, until it accepts that, it will never be able to defeat the racism. It will never be able to overcome the racism because of the effort that is putting forth to pretend it's not there, the effort that is putting forth to paint this image of it not existing. Instead of City Market, the people who run, not to, again, I don't want to bring too many things back into this specific video topic, because I do want to stay on topic, but it's very similar to City Market, where instead of trying to accept the fact or have a press conference or make statements to speak on the mistakes of weaponizing the police that they made, of the mistakes of pushing people into the system of mass incarceration that they made, except the encouragement of racism that they made last year. They didn't. Instead of doing those things, they've just tried to pretend like everything that happened last year. It's over with. Don't worry about it. Keep it to the side, and we're going to go on with this image that we're 60% minorities and 60% women, and so don't worry about the evils that we did last year. And that's a part of not truly trying to make progress. And so I feel like it's important to state that. And then I think another thing that I think is important to state, based off some of the events that are happening, again, as we're on the 1 year anniversary of, the 1 year mark of George Floyd being murdered by Derek Chauvin, is to point out values. And value, and what value means, and what that word value truly represents, especially in politics. I think that if it's nothing else that we have learned in these last 12 months, is that speaking about something, taking the time to talk about something and give an opinion about something and telling people where you stand about something, that is a political statement. That is a political action. And after May 30th, after George Floyd was killed, and then people went out on May 30th in the city of Rockford, an uprising took place. You seen on May 31st where the values of the mayor was at, where the values of this city was at, because they rolled out the red carpet to try to calm people down, to try to assure not only the people who were out there. Damn, loud ass fucking car. They tried to not only ensure the people that were out there protesting, to ensure them be calm and to try to get them to not come back out. But they also put forth an effort to assure the people who were on the outside looking in of these things that, no, don't worry, we don't really have this problem in Rockford. The people who caused this uproar and caused these things, they were from outside of Rockford. They were from outside of the area. A false narrative that is done because then it was put out there because they did not have the true desire to address the issue, to address the root cause of the issue. They just wanted to try to deal with an effect. They just wanted to try to tell people that they will take care of the effects. And in doing that, they let you know where their values were at. Go back and watch that press conference that the mayor stated, that the mayor had, and listen to the statements that he made, and then watch the actions that he's made since then. And I will point out some of those actions to you. We sit here on the 1 year removed from George Floyd being murdered by Derek Chauvin, and the mayor of this city just inside his castle up here, pulled out his phone, set his phone up, and did a live, streamed it right on the City of Rockford Facebook page, and spoke directly to the people about the issue that he felt needed to be spoken about. That is the same thing he did when Jacob Blake was shot by officers in Kenosha, when he was in the back by officers in Kenosha. Now, where was the setting up of his phone and doing a live stream from his castle after Tyrus Jones was shot? Where was the setting up his phone and doing a live stream from his castle after Denzel Duvant was assaulted at the hands of the Rockford Police Department? Where was the setting up of his phone and doing a live stream from inside his castle after Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot while running away by the Rockford Police Department? Never mind Faustin Guaitigo, because understanding the type of political fox that Tom McNamara is, I know that he will not address Faustin Guaitigo because he will cast that onto Winnebago County. Never mind the fact that Rockford is the county seat, and that the type of culture that this community has lends to the type of culture that the county has. And Tom McNamara last year at this same time and at each one of these events that I've just spoken of had a moment to shift the culture, to shift the climate of this city, which is the seat of the county, and that could have been the first efforts or the cataclysm that led to the shifting of the climate of the county, the shifting of the culture of the county. So that way, Faustin Guaitigo may not need it to lose his life. And if he did lose his life, Thomas McNamara could be well within his moral guidelines to speak on that, with the understanding that as an elected leader, his job should be to be a thermostat, taking the temperature of the room and changing the temperature of the room when the temperature of the room is inadequate, as opposed to being a thermometer where he only takes the temperature of the room and reads that back, and does not take the impotence to have a moral integrity, or take the impotence to maybe do something that is the morally correct thing but may not be the political advantageous thing. And so that is why he set up his phone from his castle today, because it's politically advantageous for him to speak on the 1 year removed from George Floyd being murdered. But it's not politically advantageous for him to speak about Tyrus Jones being attempted to be murdered. He said George Floyd's name about 100 times in this last year. I don't know how many times he said it at this little live that he just did, but I promise you he said it multiple times. He has yet to say the name of Tyrus Jones on video camera. He has yet to say the name of Denzel Duvant on video camera. He has yet to say the name of Jose Gonzalez Jr. on video camera. And again, when people try to say, well, all you want is a press conference, you need to worry about bigger things or different things, or what about policy, what about this and that and this and that. I consistently remind people that these people can make Thomas McNamara can make all the policies he wants. You can get him to get all the body cameras that he wants. He has made it abundantly clear that he does not value the lives of the people that police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice come down upon. He's made that clear by the fact that he will not say their names after they've been victimized by his law enforcement force. So what makes you think that just because, again, there's video of Faustin being murdered by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, but since the consciousness of the community is not in a place in which they understand the political actions that must be taken after we see that, because they're not, the consciousness of the community is not in a place in which they are which they are fully committed to making those political actions. And since we do not have pressure and leverage built from those actions taking place and those actions happening, the only thing that we get when Faustin Guaitigo was murdered on camera is just another video of black trauma being delivered to us. And so what we have to get to the point of understanding is that we want to make sure that it is people that are in positions to write policies. I tell people all the time, Lyndon B. Johnson was a segregationist from Texas, and he was the one who wrote in the Voting Rights Act and wrote in the Civil Rights Act and passed passed bills after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. He didn't do that because it was what he thought was his personal beliefs. He did it because it became politically advantageous. He did it because the culture of the nation had changed. He did it because the atmosphere of the nation was changing. He did it out of fear of seeing some of these things manifest in front of his eyes with the uprisings in these cities and the uprisings in these nations. And so we have to get to a place where we understand there are people in place that will write the policies and change the policies. There are people in place that will write the legislation and change the legislation. We have to exert the pressure that is needed to force them to write those things, to force them to do those things. So that way, once they are written, they have bite to them. That way, once they are written, we have gotten the community's consciousness to a place where they will make sure they are seen through. So that way, when the next time we have a Tyrus Jones being shot, the next time we have a Jose Gonzalez Jr. being shot, the next time Faustin Guaitigo is murdered, we don't have to try to convince our own people, convince our own community why they should be upset about it. Convince our own community where the roots of these problems lie. And so that is the progress that us as community members, as citizens of this city have made. That is not something that the city has made as the institution. That is something that the city has made as a community. Those are steps that we are taking forward as a community. But there's many, many, many more of those steps to go. Many more to go than we have already walked. And so again, that tells you where the value system of the mayor who is in place lies at. His values lie in profit and in property. And when profit and property were damaged and were in jeopardy, he had a press conference and he spoke. But when black bodies were in jeopardy and have been damaged, he was Facebook statements that he was putting out. And it's very similar to one of the things that I see with the NAACP. The NAACP has been utterly quiet about the enormous amounts of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice which have been permeating through this city in these last 12 months. They have been egregiously quiet. And now, 1 year after George Floyd is on the 1 year date of when George Floyd is murdered, they're having a panel. They're having a panel. Where was this panel after Tyrus Jones was shot? Where was this panel after Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot? Where was this panel after Denzel Duvant was assaulted at the hands of the Rockford Police Department? And so when people, again, and I don't want to jump too far over the place, but I've heard people use the word reactionary for some of the actions of the May 30th Alliance. And I think that couldn't be more preposterous. We have been stayed outside of City Hall from the moment that another person had the macroaggression dealt upon them that was dealt upon George Floyd. The moment that what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis manifested in the city of Rockford, Illinois, the May 30th Alliance came out to City Hall, and we have not left City Hall since, and we have continued to be at City Hall ever since then. And so when Denzel Duvant was assaulted and was beat, we did not have to try to gather the troops or did not have to try to shake ourselves out of lethargy. We were already outside of City Hall at the city and at the place and at the institution that is humongously responsible for these things. And I've said this once and I'll say it again. When people ask why we're outside of City Hall or not at a police station or not at a police district, Police District 1, District 2, and District 3 are positioned in places where everybody around that area knows exactly what the problem is. Everybody around that area knows exactly about the negatives of those occupying forces. And they have diverted resources from those areas. They have diverted eyes and attentions from from those areas. And so the things that that people do for on their leisure, or the places that people like to frequent, aren't in those areas. So if you were to go to those areas to try to raise awareness about police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, you would only be reminding the people who are victims of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. And so we have came outside of City Hall in the heart of Rockford, Illinois, in downtown, because the majority of the people who walk down this sidewalk do not have not dealt with the issues of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice at the same with the same burden, or at the same gravity as the people that live in the areas of Police District 1, District 2, and District 3. And again, staying out here has been and continues to be our revolutionary action. Our action that says that we are trying to change the system, that we are trying to change the culture. Not that we're trying to reform it, or we're just trying to slightly alter it, but we're trying to destroy what the culture in Rockford was, and create a different culture simultaneously. We're not in the effort or in the business, or that have the desire to destroy, to be destroying. I believe that to truly be revolutionary means that you are destroying something, so that way you can create something to occupy the space that was once occupied by what you destroyed. And so I think that there was a certain point in time where this building meant a certain thing to this city, where this area meant a certain thing to this city. And I think that it is clear now that those things do not mean the same things anymore. It is clear that every time they tear down these memorials and we put up another video of these memorials, you see more people watching it and more people sharing it. When people come down City Hall, you see in this area of City Hall, more people come down here and know exactly what is going on than come down here and need to have questions answered about what we're out here for. Again, when Denzel Duvant was assaulted on January 5th, we didn't have to try to scramble to figure out a play or figure out something to do. We got pictures of his mug shots very shortly after, and we put them right outside of City Hall where we were at. When Jose Gonzalez Jr. and Faustin Guaitigo were murdered, there was not some type of reactionary, there was no type of knee-jerk reactionary thing on what to do. We're trying to, again, shake ourselves out of lethargy. We have been in the process of an ongoing teaching in which we were reading books about police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. And so even though you can never be prepared for those macro aggressions to come into play, we were not in a place where we were unprepared for those macro aggressions to come into play. We were not in a place where we had to remind people or try to shake people out of, shake people out of their lethargy. The day before Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot, the day before Faustin Guaitigo was shot by these law enforcement officers, if you drove down City Hall, you was reminded about police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice by seeing the face of Denzel Duvant. So when Faustin Guaitigo was murdered, it wasn't this new occurrence popping up. If you have been driving down this area, the people who worked in this building, the people who live in this area, they had already been being reminded constantly of these issues. So this is just another straw on the camel's back. Then the next day when the next day when Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot, the day after Faustin Guaitigo was murdered, that weekend just in whole was just another straw to the camel's back, a reminder that these things are happening here. And again, that is what was lacking from this video that the mayor did inside of his castle up there. What was lacking was saying, this is a problem here. This is a problem. We need to make progress here. This is the reason this is going on here. There's racism here. There's police terrorism here. There's problems with mass incarceration here. We live in a city where I believe in the last year there have been 2 people who were in jail for murder released because they were found to have evidence that supported them not being involved with the murder, which is the system of mass incarceration eating itself by just throwing people in jail to have people in jail, putting people in these cells just to occupy these cells without doing the due diligence that these people belong in these cells. And then also in this same city, we have 2 officers who both have just asked for cases to be dismissed for sexual assault allegations. We have 3 cases right now opened by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. 2 of them are officer-involved shootings, and 1 is a car chase that they are saying wasn't a car chase, but they used spikes, and the car crashed into another car, killing a man named Raymond. I believe I'm saying his name. I want to, again, some of these things, I hate to not do the due diligence and the homework. I've been keeping up with this third case. We had somebody, a family friend who came down here and who I had spoke with about the case with Raymond. If anybody knows the family personally and can put us in contact, please feel free to inbox the May 30th Alliance Facebook page. But I say, so I want to be respectful when I speak out of turn, and I also want to apologize for not having more of the information. There's been so many things going on. It's hard to keep everything, give everything the care and attention that it deserves. But again, I just say all these things to say that where is the videos about these 3 task force investigations? Where is where is the speaking about these issues when they manifest on real people in real time in this city? And that is where you understand that it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican in office or a Democrat in office, a liberal in office or a conservative in office. If they do not believe that the people who their office marginalizes, exploits, and oppresses has the power or the leverage or the pressure or the chutzpah to challenge them and to challenge their actions and to challenge their ideology, they will continue to do things that are politically advantageous, regardless if they are the morally correct or incorrect thing, regardless if they are the ethically correct or incorrect thing, regardless if they are the humane thing or the inhumane thing. They will do things that they believe will continue to get them votes, that will continue the status quo. And what continues to get votes and what continues the status quo in the city of Rockford, Illinois, is allowing police terrorism to manifest on black and brown men in this city. And again, and that's not to say it only affects black and brown men, because it affects black and brown men and women, black and brown members of the LGBTQI plus community. It affects white men and women. It affects Arab men and women. It affects everybody, Christian, Muslim, whatever individual traits that you have. If you take the time to look into police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, unless you are of the top percent that benefits off of it, chances are you are being exploited off of it in some type of way, whether directly or indirectly. And when we speak about progress, one of the things that I believe has been a form of progress, even though it has been slow progress, but I say all the time, slow progress better than no progress, has been the educating of the community about not just the macroaggression, which is George Floyd being murdered, but about the microaggression, which is police officers being called over a counterfeit bill and feeling that it's within their responsibilities or job duties to apprehend this man over a counterfeit bill. And so I think as we sit here again, a year removed from George Floyd being murdered by Derek Chauvin, I think that we have a younger generation of not just black and brown people, but of people of all colors, of all nationalities, of all ethnicities, who are becoming tired of oppression, who are becoming tired of exploitation, who are becoming tired of neocolonialism and neoliberalism and capitalism, and more information is at their fingertips, and they have more people are speaking freely to them and around them about these things. And I believe we live in a time where we are going to see some type of shift. You can look at the things that are going on here in Rockford, Illinois, and here in Winnebago County in Illinois with the police reform bill that was put out, where they're talking about ending cash bail, where they're talking about a multitude of other things, and some of those things, depending on where you lie on the spectrum, can be seen as progress. I think that it's movement. And I think that one of the things that I've learned over this past 12 months that is important is movement. Movement is important. I think it's important that we move forward and not that we move sideways. But I think that it is better to be moving sideways than to be stagnant, because before you can, it's going to take more energy to muster up the movement again and muster up the moving again than it's going to take to just simply adjust the way in which we're moving. And so I think that the fact that there's been consistently been movement around the issues of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice in Rockford, Illinois, and in Winnebago County is encouraging. It's been nationwide and nationally. There's been movement around these things. And again, when you look over in what's going on in Palestine and the struggle in Palestine, when you look in SARS and the struggle in SARS and in that area, and it was just a young woman from the BLM movement in London, I believe. Again, there's so many different things have happened. I got to get better with having all the specific information laid out, so I'm not misspeaking. But she was just shot in the head, and it's hard for me as a black man to think that in some type of a way it doesn't have any type of connection with the actions that she is taking in advocating for the liberation of our people. And so when you see all of these different things that are happening and all of the zeitgeist of it all, to me it's just these reminders that we are in a moment that is bigger than us, that we are in a moment in which a movement is being given birth to. You know, whether you date it back to Ferguson, or you date it back to Trayvon Martin, or you date it back to Oscar Grant. I think that each one of these things were different. I don't know what the proper connotations for pregnancies are, but I think each one of these things, connotations, the proper verbiage, but I think each one of these things were labor pains, and I think that it's very possible we may look back and realize that there was something birthed finally when George Floyd was murdered, and because of COVID and because of some of the other outlying circumstances, a lot of more an abundance of grassroots movements were created here and abroad. And I believe that there will be a time very soon when those grassroots movements will be needed again, where we will have a moment like George Floyd. I believe, in Rockford, we've had multiple of them. It's just about getting, again, the consciousness of the community to be at that heightened level where when somebody becomes victimized and becomes an example of these macro aggressions, business as usual stops, and we get to work. And so, again, this is just all different reflections from a year removed from George Floyd being murdered, and noticing the things and some of the actions that have been taken by the mayor, actions that have been taken by the institutions in the city. There's been some news stories being put out about City Market, and I want to do another live later on talking about that news story and talking about the footprint of City Market and getting into some more details about City Market. Going to do some more lives also throughout the week talking about May 30th and the importance of May 30th. But before I want to do a few things before I end this live. I want to ask people to I'm gonna start pinning. I'm gonna start writing a comment and pinning it on the comment, but. If you have Cash App, please donate to the May 30th Alliance Cash App. You can donate at $ May 30th Alliance. The same thing if you have Venmo or if you have PayPal, we can be donated at Venmo and PayPal. At Venmo is at May 30th Alliance, and then at PayPal is May 30th Alliance at protonmail.com. Again, you can always come down here in person and donate to any of the members of the organization that are here in person. Please go back and if you come out on Fridays at City Market, you can donate to people on Fridays at City Market. Just find a member of the organization, and they'll be more than willing to take your donation. And we have May 30th. The May 30th will be on Sunday. And again, for people who may not understand or know here, that George Floyd was killed during the week here, and then on the weekend, on the first Saturday afterwards, it was May 30th, and that is when the protests here took place, when the marches here took place, when the rally here took place, and that is when police officers assaulted and violated the human rights of over 100 people of this community. And then after they did those things, they falsely arrested 10 members of this community. And then after assaulting over 100 people and violating the human rights of over 100 people, and then falsely arresting 10 people. They spun narratives about what happened on May 30th and how it happened and why it happened, all false narratives. They never did any true due diligence to find out the truth of the matter of these things. They then, after people went out to protest and advocate about issues that predominantly affect black and brown people, a black woman was pushed out to the forefront to condone all of the actions taken by Rockford police officers on people protesting on behalf of black people. That is, and to say the actions, I want to make sure I clarify. Assistant Deputy Chief Carla Red cleared the police department of any, she spoke about the clearing of the police department of any wrongdoing. She said that they punched people on May 30th and they was within their rights to punch people. They kicked people on May 30th and they was within their rights to kick people. What's good, bro? How you feeling? How you feeling? You feeling all right? I see you. That's clean. I see you. I'm gonna holler at you. Right. Hit me. Yep. I love you, bro. For real. I'm gonna holler at you. Kicking, elbowing people, pepper spraying, tasing people, shooting rubber bullets at people. What's up, brother? Love you. All of these different actions that were done by people who were defenseless, by people who were weaponless, and they were all justified. Videos came out days after, weeks after, all of these videos gaining thousands and hundreds of thousands of views, and still there was this sense of denial by institutions in the city of admitting any wrongdoing, of even saying that they could have handled the de-escalation differently, or that maybe they weren't going to reprimand the officers or charge the officers, but at least say it was outside of their policy. At least say that it's things that could have been done differently. You look in New York, they did a look into the protest that took place in New York last year around the murder of George Floyd, and they put out a report that said it was things that the police department should have done differently. You look in Atlanta, multiple police officers were fired for the actions that they took against protesters and against civilians after the days after George Floyd was murdered. When you look into the city of Rockford, Illinois, and into Winnebago County, you see the direct opposite of those things. You see people who have been given promotions based on actions that they took violating the human rights of protesters and falsely arresting people. You see that here, John Cabello, who was a state rep and running again for re-election. It's good that Dave won. We got Dave. They got Dave. That's good that Dave won. Need to get Cabello out of here. He was a nut job. But Cabello, this man has a Back the Blue rally and gets up there and does this big spiel. And then after the rally, and after police officers and white nationalists and white supremacists who were all on Cabello's side, who all came there for Cabello, after they assaulted people, brutalized people, defenseless people, one of them even assaulting a teenage girl in the process, after these things, Cabello complained about it not being enough coverage celebrating the police. After these things, Cabello came out and in the Facebook comment basically told one of his constituents that voted for him to be locked and loaded, to be ready to go, stand by and stand back. And again, that lets you know the tenor of the community we live in, the tenor of the city we live in, the tenor of the county that we live in. And it lets you know that it cannot be simply trying to change policies when we have people's minds and people's ideologies and people's thoughts of train of thoughts that are like this. Down here all the time we see different people. We have interactions with different people who, these people have to have their ideology challenged. These people have to be visibly struggled with. So that way people from the outside looking in can judge for themselves. That way the younger generation can judge for themselves about which things are morally correct and which things are morally incorrect. And so I hope that, and I want to get ready to wrap this up here, but what I am in hopes of and what I hope that is that younger generations of people are watching these last 12 months and are paying attention to the hypocrisies that are being highlighted on a daily basis from these institutions of power. I hope that it is young people who are watching the mayor of this city speak and say the name of George Floyd from Minneapolis a year after he was murdered, set up his phone and do a live stream to speak on it because he felt it to be that important, to speak on the progress that his administration has made because he deems it to be that important. But he did not deem it important enough to speak on Jose Gonzalez Jr. being shot. That is a hypocrisy that must be highlighted, and the younger generation of people must understand which people value their lives and which people do not value their lives. And then they must understand what value looks like. And value looks like what the mayor did today. I mean, it looks deeper than that. Really, it looks like a press conference with accountability and restorative justice. But the beginnings of it, the very first stages of it, looks like what he did today when he spoke about George Floyd, a year after George Floyd. But the hypocrisy that we must highlight is that he did not do that for Jose Gonzalez Jr. The hypocrisy that we must highlight is that he did not do that for Denzel Duvant. The hypocrisy that we must highlight is that he did not do that for Tyrus Jones. And the hypocrisy that we must highlight is that it is more than likely that whoever is shot down in the streets of his city next, unless we gain more power as a community, gain more leverage as a community, he will do the same hypocritical action for them, where he will just put out his Facebook statement where he does not even have the decency to say the name of the person that his law enforcement has victimized. And so anybody who is watching this, please go into the City of Rockford government page in the video in which Tom McNamara just took about that entitled Progress. Please leave comments that say justice for Faustin. Please leave comments that say justice for Jose. Please leave comments that say justice for Denzel. Please leave comments that say justice for Tyrus. Please leave comments that say Tyrus's name, say Denzel's name, say Jose's name, say Faustin's name. Please leave those things in there, because it is clear, it has been made and is continued to be made abundantly clear that no matter how many listening sessions and how many masks that this racist white man has put in front of his face that say listen, or sessions that are entitled listening sessions, that he is not quite hearing yet, that he is not quite seeing yet, that he is not quite feeling yet. And so we need to wake up his senses as well, wake up this city's senses as well. And so we are making the attempt to do that as an organization every Friday at City Market at 4 o'clock, so come out. We are making the attempt as an organization to do that on Sunday at Haskell Park for the 1 year since May 30th, so please come out. We are making the attempt to do that outside of City Hall every day, so please feel free to come out here at any point in time. It's looking like a storm is getting ready to get built up and maybe slide through here, so we're going to get some of our belongings together and figure out where exactly we are going to get stationed at. I want to thank everybody for the continued support. I want to again encourage people to follow this page, like this page, follow us and find us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Spotify. We May 30th Alliance podcast on YouTube, and subscribe. Please donate to the Cash App. That's $ May 30th Alliance. PayPal is May 30th Alliance at protonmail.com. And the Venmo is at May 30th Alliance. Please share, and then again, please share this video, and please, everybody who is trying to find out what it is that they can do, what it is that they can contribute. The thing that I would say to people is just start. They're trying to figure out what they can do. Just start. Pick up a book. Start reading. Come out to the to City Market on Friday with a megaphone and start talking. Come out to Some people don't need megaphones, but come out to City Hall down here and start a dialogue. And so this is a very conflict. This is a very sad day in American history, a very sad day for Black America. But I also think that, and it's unfortunate that it has to have been like this for our community. But some of our saddest days and some of our darkest days are the days that we have pulled the most strength from and pulled the most illumination and the most enlightening from. And I believe that our people will continue to do that. So I'm gonna get ready to wrap this up. We outside. What are you talking to? I thought he was going to take down the Morris. We outside. I want to just, again, thank everybody for the support. Please, if you're looking for something to do today, or if you're looking for a thing to be your revolutionary action to partake in today. Go into them comments on that on the City of Rockford page. Justice for Faustin, justice for Jose, justice for Tyrus. And we still doing that. We still on that campaign. Go in all the comments for any videos you see on Facebook, and you go in there and you leave pictures of the graphics that we got. You leave the hashtag justice for Jose. You leave the hashtag justice for Faustin. Both of those cases are still ongoing and still being looked into by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. And we want to make sure that whenever they do close those investigations, we want more people in the city to be paying attention to the closing of it than paying attention to the opening of it. We still want to do the work of making sure that more people know the name of Faustin Guaitigo and the name of Jose Gonzalez Jr. Every weekend, and knew it last weekend. Again, there may be weeks where we have fell short in that, but I do believe that we have made the concerted effort that is necessary for us to accomplish it. And so it's just about pushing forward, y'all. We outside. I'm going to end it. LeBron, you better win tonight.